Good. We should ask for more questions or comments. You just open up your mic because I can't see the hand thing. Maybe I discourage people asking for the hand button.
Uh, hi, Paul. Thank
Do
you
you want
so
your
much.
camera, Petra? Do you want to turn on your camera? It's up to
Uh,
you.
it's not a good idea.
Okay. A girl has to have her makeup on. I understand.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciated that piece about the fission, nuclear fission. I imagine that'd be the Greys saying that. I was, I was kind of researching that, and the first time it's noted, well, I mean, it's published anyway, is 1993 by uh, Drunvalo Melchizedek in his Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life volumes, 2 volumes. So, and then I saw it in Susie Hansen's Dual Soul Connection. She's also passing on this information that from the Greys that, hey, this is really bad, and we should let everyone know that fission is very bad for them. And the same, I think from Drunvalo it comes to that dimensional thing that he expresses it like there's anything in the microcosm affects the macrocosm. And when I showed that Drunvalo's material, quote in the book to Susie Hansen, she was very impressed and she took a note of it. So, and she uses the same terms, the microcosm and the macrocosm, because that's what the Greys told her in those terms anyway. So yeah, so it's great to have that conversation. I actually brought up the fission versus fusion thing with Stanton Friedman, and he didn't quite pick up on it, but he said, I asked him, well, does fission happen naturally? And he said, well, it might in Africa where there's some radioactive deposits or something. There's enough of it that it could naturally happen, but generally he says it doesn't happen naturally. So I think that's the problem, that fission is not natural and it does destroy dimensions, and it affects the Greys very much. So it's no mystery why all these, there's so much nuclear testing going on, and now it seems like there's been no detonation. I mean, yeah, China was it China and India maybe they set off some, but it's really been a moratorium, and I think the Greys are enforcing that. So yeah, so thanks. I just want to ask you this other thing. Are you familiar with the Romanians, the material that's coming out in the books by Radu Cinemar on remote view? Well, I mean, there's much more, but on remote viewing, he was apparently, I looked it up, and he was apparently in Maryland in 2005 and 2006. That's not his real name. The thing, it's his, his pen name. So, are you familiar with that at all? Is material? There's
Um,
like Radu Cinemar. The last book is The Etheric Crystal. It's all about creating this technology that interfaces with the viewer and helps him, helps them to remote view targets and stuff. I mean, that's what the last book is about.
no, not. I haven't heard about that. So I'm not. Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. Oh, I have found that drawing I told you from that I made of the nuclear explosion from 1978. I found that on my computer here. But if this works, I'll just try and
Great.
share the screen with you.
Yeah.
Are you able
Yeah.
to see?
Yeah.
Now I added on the bottom there that says showing this scene on a digital television in 1978. So this would be like, here's the explosion and here are the different dimensional barriers, and the nuclear blast interferes or, hammers into their dimensions. And so it ticks them off. So
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
No worries.
Anything else, Petra, or anyone else?
Yeah.
If I have your I was wondering if you could speak to any remote viewing of the future. Apparently, when they look into the negative timeline, there's this reality that has a orange and magenta sky, which, and the other details of that negative event are not filled in. You know, it's sort of like it's happening, but it's still not, you know, it hasn't crystallized what the event that caused that is. So could you speak to that if you have anything on that?
Oh, goodness. I have no idea, Petra. This about some orange in the sky, or what did you say?
Yeah, I read that book. I think it was by Joe Montague. Been a while ago, but they even had a picture in Maryland on the wall of the orange, like some world, some image of a orange and magenta sky, and there was a big thing, and it was like when they, you know, when you remote view the future, it's not a, it's always a possible future or you know, it's a possible future. So when they do that, the sign of it, when they're in the negative timeline, seems to be an orange or orange and magenta sky, and other thing, you know, there's some disasters happen, but it's not clear what that is. It's sort of like that hasn't been decided yet, but there, you know, the fact that there is a orange and magenta sky is like, it's definitely there kind of thing. So
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. What I'm thinking though is that it may be a reference to Mars, you know, or somehow wherever this sky is. There is over the next few years, we're going to see some really remarkable things happening in relationship to, you know, what's going on Mars, what's going on the moon, and suddenly we have you know, global interest in Mars itself, you know. And some of you don't, probably not aware of this, but Elon Musk is actually from Saskatchewan. He was he's Canadian. He was born in South Africa. His mother is from Regina, Saskatchewan, and his father and his mom headed off to South Africa when he was still in the womb, and he was born in South Africa, and so he's South African citizen. But when they came back, he actually lived for a while with his grandfather on a farm just outside of Swift Current a whole bunch of years ago. So it's a really, really interesting story of how the evolution of Elon Musk and how he got involved in all of these things, and the push right now, you know. And these people, some of them are visionary, but I think that at a deeper level, you know, the folks that are visionary like that, like Elon Musk, you know, I think that they are connected more than most to the extraterrestrial fact. You know, what possesses him, what drives him to move in that direction, you know. And I think that's where so much of it, you know, for a lot of people, I think the time is coming. We're all coming into, you know, a certain time where all of this is going to be very important, and all of this is influencing how our lives are changing. Even the craziness that we have going on right now on our planet. I think these are all, you know, part of our evolution of consciousness, if that makes any sense.
Well, Paul, I want to ask you about like Elon Musk. Richard Dolan feels that there's a secret space program. We got your conventional NASA thing since 1958, but they've had the secret space program going maybe since the 1950s, and I'm speaking for Richard Dolan. So it seems, my own view, Elon Musk is going along with this conventional liquid fuel rocket thing we've had since the 1920s. Is this some kind of diversion? What do you think? What's your view on the secret space program?
Well, that's sort of what we have now. I mean, that's the limit. But I'll tell you one thing: there are NASA has developed and has um, a prototype. They have two possibilities now that they're working on. That is in regards to faster than speed of light travel. All right, and they actually have a working prototype that, you know, it's just a matter of scale. And there are, on the basis of two possibilities that they were, you know, considering. Faster than speed of light travel obviously completely opens up everything. All right, it will change the trip to Mars from 7.5 months to like 2 days. All right, so from what I understand, there are two applications that they're considering. One is working with, it seems something like working with lasers inside a containment device of some sort. And the other, which seems to be more prevalent to what they're doing right now, seems like right out of Star Trek, warp drive. They have actually developed a process in which they, you know, and you can Google this. There actually is some stuff on, you know, online from NASA, and Dr. White is the guy's name who was putting this out there. A working prototype of actual faster than speed of light travel, and essentially what they're doing, and this is really scientific kind of stuff that I don't understand. They're collapsing from their description. You have your spacecraft that you're using, and what they're doing is they collapse the space-time continuum, whatever the hell that is, in front of the vehicle and expand it behind, so that the people that are on this vehicle wouldn't even be aware of movement. But this thing goes to warp drive and literally can be in Mars in 2.5 days.
Wow, but that's Elon Musk seems to be using liquid fuel rockets, right? So that's something else. You're talking about the big guys in NASA.
Right. Well, you're going to see, yeah, because I mean, you know, he's doing it at a much cheaper format than, you know, and then other stuff, because they're actually re-landing them, so the rockets aren't wasted every time. But you're going to see some big changes, I think, that are coming about in that mode of travel. That's what's available now. That's what, you know, they're using. This is all going to change, I think, quite dramatically over the next few years. Here's the other aspect of one of the things that is a possibility that they're looking at as well, even in terms of Elon Musk's work or whatever it is instead of using, okay, the biggest amount of fuel and everything else is getting this damn thing off the ground, right? So most of the weight of the rocket is the fuel inside the rocket that allows it to lift off, okay? So wouldn't it make more sense to do, rather than waste all of that propulsion and fuel and everything and getting this thing from 0 miles per hour up into space, wouldn't it make more sense to put it on a magnetic rail in a tunnel underneath the surface for like a half a mile? And this rocket goes on this railroad tunnel until it gets up to full speed and then comes out of the ground, coming out of the ground at 300-400 miles an hour or more. And so that would be revolutionary change. All right, and then it can just land just like the regular, you know, like the old shuttles used to. All right, just land in an airport or whatever it is. So these are part of, you know, there's some amazing things in magnetics and you know, and other propulsion systems that are going on that I think we're going to see over the next few years, some vast changes. But the biggest one is going to be literally, you know, warp drive faster than speed of light.
If you need a drink or something, go ahead. There's another question here from Dave. Dave can turn on his mic. Or Dave, yeah, Dave, you can turn on your camera too if you want.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You want to turn on your camera?
Yeah, just a sec.
There you go.
Yeah, just readjust this here. Question is actually, I have 3 quick questions. The first one is, have you ever gotten together with a group of remote viewers to investigate the writings, stuff that was written by David Paulides in Missing 411, his Missing 411 books? That's my first question. And my second question is, are you aware of these people from the future? And there's other UFO bases besides the ones that you mentioned. For example, there's supposedly a UFO base in Crestone, Colorado, and another one in Arizona. I think it's called Superstitious Mountain. And this involves people from the future. People supposedly even from Earth and who are working with extraterrestrials. And they actually come back in time from our future. So that's the second one. And I don't remember the third one right now. Yeah, I don't remember the third one right now. But I'll let you go ahead with those ones, those 2 for now. Oh, hello?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so you can hear me, right?
Yep. Thanks, Dave.
Oh, that's James, actually.
James, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the first one?
So the first one was Missing 411. So there's this guy, David Paulides.
Yes, yeah. Can-Am project or whatever you call it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And he talks about these missing people, kids, and in some cases, it's people that just literally go missing from their cars, even, eh?
Right. Yeah.
And usually in forests and stuff like that, but in some cases, they even go missing right in shopping malls and Disneyland, and like absolutely without a trace. And I actually did some of my own remote viewing in some of that and came up with some interesting answers. And one of the things that was found was that some of these people actually end up in secret underground facilities for medical and military experiments, and primarily in places like Yosemite National Park, and places like that. But there's also people accidentally getting lost in portals, either with these tree portals, as I call them, and also these granite portals. These granite portals, which are seem to be common with these little people. But so I've noticed people going missing accidentally through those. But I'm just kind of curious because David Paulides, in his interviews, in his interview shows that he has every weekend, he actually talks about these. He actually mentions that he's yet to come across any remote viewers that have yet to really accurately pinpoint where specific people have actually disappeared to. So I'm wondering if you and a group of people, like I know there's police psychics out there who actually have found missing people, but I'm curious to know what actually happened to some of these missing people who suddenly just disappeared without a trace, from other people's perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm familiar with David, and in fact, gosh, it's a few years ago now that he asked if I could help out with the group by doing regular remote viewing. This is in reference to the Can-Am project, which was mostly at that time about people missing in state national parks, and that kind of thing. So I didn't have the time in order to devote to it, because I'm doing a lot of things and have a lot of projects going on all the time. So, but I'm certainly familiar with what you're talking about, but I haven't had the time to engage in that. I haven't, so I thanked David for the invite, but just haven't, haven't been. But I know they're continuing on, and they're, there's pretty perplexing. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't know. And what was the second thing?
Okay, so the second one is apparently there's these people from the future. So I've also found UFO bases myself, not so much the ones that you talked about, but like I know there's UFO bases right here in Canada. There's even one right near Vancouver in a place called Mount Martin. But I've also known there's UFO activity that seems to happen quite a bit also around the areas of Kamloops, British Columbia, and also around Courtney, Comox, British Columbia.
Yes.
On the island. So there's a lot of UFO activity there. And I've actually had success in, well, let's just say going back years ago, back to when I was about 13, when all this UFO stuff started happening for me back in July of 1982 in Kamloops, British Columbia. And so anyway, when all that stuff even started happening, I wasn't even sure what it was all about. I had a really big interest in UFOs at the time as a kid. But what I was unaware of is that there's beings who actually listen to our thoughts. And if we have something like an interest in UFOs and whatnot, that, not unknowns to me, was what got their attention. But I also came to the understanding that there's extraterrestrial beings that look just like us, and they actually walk among us, not just as individuals, but believe it or not, as families, and from which they've actually interacted with us quite anonymously, not really so much in a full-blown contact, but anonymously meaning very brief periods of time, where people would just suddenly appear out of nowhere, help someone out with something, maybe give them some money, and then they walk around the corner and they're completely gone. So I've come across other people who have talked about this stuff too. So that was kind of my second thing. I'm not sure. I guess there's, like I say, there's these people from the future, and it would be interesting to know where, with these UFO bases, where the locations of the actual entrances actually are, so that people like us could actually visit these places and actually meet these beings in person right at their front door, so to speak.
Well, it's interesting because years ago, people, when you talk about like those bases that I showed you, the remote viewings on them, and people will say, well, has anybody gone there? Have they checked it out? And the reality is you would not see it, and Skip Atwater, Captain Atwater, sort of put it best. He said that, well, it's technology way beyond what we can conceive of. It's not like the spaceship pulls up in front of the mountain and pushes a garage door opener and the side of the mountain opens up. The technology is so beyond that you wouldn't be aware of it, and what we're seeing is much like what I described to you when I saw that extraterrestrial in my house who walked through a wall. I think that's sort of the kind of technology that's sort of beyond us. One thing that you mentioned, Courtney Comox area, there is pretty much a hotbed of Vancouver Island. There's a lot of extraterrestrial activity that people pick up, or people see UFOs and so on and so forth. Now, please don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on this, so I just dabble and I get pieces and things and stuff like that. But if you're not familiar, and folks in this part of the country, on the island here, on Vancouver Island, is a place called Cameron Lake. All right, Cameron Lake is between just about in Port Alberni. All right, it's on the drive across to the other side of the island to Tofino. But you go past this lake, and for years, my first exposure on the island here, when I got off the farm in Saskatchewan, I went out and I worked on Vancouver Island in the lumber mills and in the forest when I was, 19 years old. And even back then, old guys or old timers would be talking about Cameron Lake, and they would be saying things like, I don't know, there's something in that lake, but it was sort of along the lines of, Ogopogo, Loch Ness Monster kind of stuff. There's weird stuff going on in that lake, Well, over the years, it's become quite, many, many people have seen it. And I have seen it myself. And what I wanted to say is, I mentioned earlier this woman named Beverly Trout that I met, and she was the former MUFON president and UFO crop circle expert. She had been on something like 52 radio and television programs in the States talking about crop circles and things like that. Well, as it was, I met her. She came to a remote viewing workshop that we had at the Institute in Virginia, and I met her and a friend of hers, or niece or whatever, and we became good friends. And a few months later, they were coming to Vancouver to some kind of a conference, and I said, well, you can't come out to Vancouver and not come over to the island. So come over and spend the weekend. And so, to my fortune, I had Beverly Trout and Pamela that came and stayed at my house for a weekend, and I showed them around the island, and we were, we're talking about different things. And she showed me some pictures of crop circles that were just mind-bending, For instance, one of them was a photograph that she got from somewhere in Saskatchewan in a crop circle of a grasshopper, a huge grasshopper, embedded like a shish kebab with a straw right through its body. What kind of power does that? Literally a piece of straw was like a spear through this grasshopper's body. Anyway, stuff like that. So I was showing them around the island, and as I'm driving, we've been down in Victoria, showing them the Parliament buildings or something down there, and making our way back in the evening up to Port Alberni and going around Cameron Lake. And as we're going around Cameron Lake, we're chatting, and Beverly's in the back seat of my car. And all of a sudden she says, what on earth is that? And what? And look out on the lake, and it's like glass. Cameron Lake is amazing. And there is probably about a half a mile out or something like that, there is a perfect circle on the water of white caps. It's like something vibrating underneath the surface, about 100 yards in diameter, 100 yards across or so. Something just going like that underneath the water. And I'm like, holy crap, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, burp, burp. There's a semi-trailer right behind me on my ass, because the thing about, going through the Cathedral Grove and Cameron Lake is there's only 2 lanes. So you can only go as fast as the slowest guy, right? There's very few passing lanes. I got the semi-trailer on it. I'm looking at this, what the hell is that? That's amazing. And so anyway, by the time I get the chance to turn around and come back, it's gone. But of all of the people on the planet that I would want to have in the backseat of my car who notices that would be Beverly Trout, the former president of MUFON. And so did some actual, remote viewing and other things. And in fact, this got to be so common that people were seeing these kinds of phenomenon on the lake that I'm not sure who it was, whether it was government or whether it was university. About 4 years ago, they sent out a team to Cameron Lake with boats and everything else, and deep water radar and all sorts of high-tech stuff. And they spent 2.5 months there on Cameron Lake, photographing, radar, scoping, everything that they could. And after they were finished, the only thing they said is that there were enough large moving anomalies in the lake to warrant further investigation. Now there's a government statement if I ever heard one. All right. But here's something else that's come out of this. People have seen, or there's been stories about it, UFOs coming out of that lake. The reason for that lake being so mysterious is considered to be a bottomless lake. All right. So they have, and this has been going on for years, like, bottomless lake, it's nestled between two mountains. And, an interesting thing in that whole area, there's other lakes, there's Sproat Lake, there's, 10 miles away, and they're warm lakes. Cameron Lake, there's a beach at one end of it, but you you seldom see anybody swimming in it because it's so damn cold. Water is extremely cold. It's a bottomless lake. And there is an interesting thing that came out, and so we did some remote viewing in regards to that. There's an interesting thing that came out just about 2 years ago, where NASA made this announcement and said, by golly, on the backside of the moon, where you never see, the largest crater is full of water, frozen water, ice. Where do you think it comes from? How did it get there? The rest of it is powder, right? But the largest crater on the backside of the moon is full of ice. Well, some of the remote viewers say it comes from Cameron Lake because it's some of the purest water on this planet.
Woo! That's
Yeah,
amazing.
interesting.
That's a woo moment. Wow. Sorry to interrupt you. Keep talking.
No, that's cool. I have to get running along here pretty quick. I haven't.
Oh. Well, Dave is back. When I asked, he was away. He had one question. Do you have a chance for one more question?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much,
Do you want
Brian.
your camera, Dave? Do you want your camera on?
You know what? Usually I don't, but this time, yeah, I'll pop it up there.
Sure.
All right, everybody can see me.
Yeah. Join us.
Mr. Elder, I just want to say thank you for always returning my phone calls and replying to my emails. I'm Dave H. from Ottawa.
Ah, hi, Dave.
Yeah, Mr. Elder has been giving me quite a bit of insight on TMI and OBEs and astral projection. And in the last 2 months, I've successfully managed to initiate consciously four sessions into Locale 1. So yeah, I know. It's really pretty interesting. My mind is still processing a lot of it. So again, Mr. Elder, thank you very much for always returning my phone calls. I really do appreciate the attention you give to people that reach out to you.
You're very welcome. I'm just excited. I'm enthusiastic about sharing all the time because to me, I'm a farm boy from Saskatchewan. And all of this, anything is like, holy crap, you won't believe this crap,
Yeah,
So to me,
that's exactly how I feel. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, so Paul, we've had you on for 3 hours. I guess we can't cast for more. This has been great, dude. Do you want to should we end it now? You want to wrap up at this point?
Sure, I've got to go to the bathroom.
Well, unless you want to just go to the bathroom. Sometimes we go on for 5 hours, so we can keep talking. Why don't you just take a break and come back?
No, I have to. I have. I got to pick up.
Okay, but you're welcome back anytime. But just really appreciate you taking the time. And your workshop's coming in Vancouver in April. You want to mention that again? And your website is linked below this video for the audience.
Sure. If anybody's in the Vancouver area, if they, we still have space available, and it's at at the Holiday Inn Express, I think in Richmond. But if you're interested, check it out on my website. The website is www.paul-elder.com.
Is it in person?
Yes.
Oh, okay. You have to register or something like that?
You have to what?
You have to register, yeah. Yeah, you'd have to register in advance, right?
Yeah. It's a Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, and it's just in Richmond area over in Vancouver, April 11th or April over the weekend. I think it's April 8th or 9th to 11th or something like that. But anyway, it's on the website. We'd be delighted. We still got some spaces.
Say April 9th, 10, 11 is the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right. Yeah. So people are, given in BC right now, we're still locked down to some degree. So hopefully that'll alleviate in the next couple of weeks. Got one in Calgary a week after that on April the 15th or 16th to 18th. And but this is like a level 1, but it can really blow your mind, what you're capable of.
Yeah, I'll say I've done a couple of workshops with you, and they were very good. So I definitely highly recommend it. So really appreciate you coming, Paul. Thanks for taking the time. Sorry I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Let's do it again sometime.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much from Brian and
Sure.
Paul. I wish to see you again. Beautiful talking and very interesting. Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much, Brian.
All a day's work for the Vancouver UFO Meetup Group.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul. Yeah,
Thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye now. I'll let you take a break.
Brian, this room is still open until when?
Which room?
This one now. It's
Oh yeah,
going to
we can
finish
keep
soon?
going. Our record is 8 hours. Hey, I'm just getting going here. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, with this 15 of
I
us,
thought
we
it's-
just keep, doesn't cost nothing to keep recording. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
Paul's
thought
going,
you
but
were
we can
going
keep
to.
going.
I thought you were going to close the room now.
Oh, no, we'll continue. I mean, there's 15 of us here. Yeah, have you
Oh.
seen any of our previous videos? Sometimes we really get going after the 3rd or 4th or 5th hour.
Anyway, nice to talk to you, and I wish to see you again. I have to go somewhere. Thank you so
Okay.
much. And
Well,
I
sure,
wish
Akbar, we can get
uh,
together. You're in Vancouver. We can meet for coffee sometime.
yes, where are you living? I don't know.
I'm in Kitsilano. Yeah.
Oh,
I hang out
live in
at Arbutus Coffee at 6th and Arbutus.
Arbutus and where?
6th Avenue.
6 and Arbutus. I live in North Burnaby, close to the SFU.
Oh, yeah.
North Burnaby Mountain. Do you know Burnaby Mountain?
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I have your link right on Meetup, right? We can contact you Meetup. Or my email's in the chat as well, if you want to read that right at the top.
Okay. I will go to
So much for bringing another amazing guest on your show.
Yeah, I met Paul in 2006 at a workshop. It was actually just a few blocks where I live in Kitsilano. And then we did a holotropic breathing around 2009. So I've known him, and I was on his email list. He actually I was just on his email list just recently. I thought, oh yeah, Paul Elder. Why don't I invite him? I invited him because they just got an email from him. And I thought, it's really, really interesting, the remote viewing of aliens, that theme. Yeah.
No, that's really great. But I know I took a hiatus from the group the last couple of weeks, but I'm glad.
Oh, your camera's off again, Dave.
Sorry. So yeah, I took an hiatus from the group the last month because I've been focusing on meditation and astral projection with the Monroe Institute's local chapter, and I got a breakthrough over the last month.
Do you want to share that with the audience? Because it's really fitting with he's with the Monroe Institute. I was into this when I was 15 years old in Ontario. I got the book. My dad bought the book Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe. My dad was into spiritual stuff. It had a huge effect on me as a teenager, really guiding me in that direction. So yeah, what's your experience?
So I had never, I've been trying for the last 30 years to initiate conscious astral projection with decision-making capabilities without using dreams as a conduit to achieve that. So direct, spontaneous, that's actually not spontaneous, it wouldn't be spontaneous, direct control over exiting from the physical form into locale 1. And I've been unsuccessful until about a month ago when I started working with the chapter. And all of a sudden I was laying on my bed and my hands felt light, and all of a sudden my chest raised and I was outside the body, and I looked back at my body, and I went through the door. I was above the house. It's not exactly the way people describe it at times, because I think our mind still has to process when this is happening to us. And the first hurdle we have to pass over is processing the fact that we're not dead and we haven't passed away. So our perception of of everything that's in front of us might be slightly different than everyone else. That's what I had to learn. And I also used to romanticize this experience. That's why I never got it to happen. And now what I saw, I did it 1, 2, 3, and the last time I did it 4 was about a week and a half ago. I can't say with certainty what I'm experiencing, but it sounds very similar to the stuff I've read in the books and a lot of the testimonies I've heard from other human beings. You do feel a bit different when you look at the world too, because you're consciously walking around. It's real-time conscious movement, conscious thought. You're talking to yourself. You're like, wow, this is. I will say that a lot of thoughts that I would have when I'm awake, they were not there when I was over there. Like it was very different for me. A lot of things, I thought I was going to go to Egypt and blah, 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 and all that stuff and see the pyramids or go to South America, but none of that was in my head. It was just the experience of seeing everything that I was left stunned. And, but I was just as eager to move around. So that's what I could share. And
so were you just in your own room? Like we said, location 1, was that just in your own apartment?
So based from the books of like the first book, the journey book, Mr. Monroe explains how there's 3 different locales. There's, I'm sure a number of you may have heard about this. The locale 1 is where, just to summarize it quickly, it's what we see here, the material plane. Then you have your locale 2, which is kind of like you're piercing the veil where you see a little bit of the other side, and you will occasionally see individuals that are passing over. And then the locale 3, which is a little bit more confusing for some because there's no real definite rule system behind it. You could be traveling time and space, future past, different dimensions. Like there's no real concretized rule set for that. So it's different for everyone. But I've only experienced locale 1, which is just outside of my bed, walking around and getting pulled back in my body. And then I got released again and I exited my body. Then I went back into my body.
So I'm wondering, what's your goal? Like, how far would you like to go with this? If you get really good at it, really train yourself.
Well, my goal, that's a really good question. I think like a number of us, we're all looking for answers to questions. And I think that's a bit of what I'm trying to seek, is some answers to some of my questions that I've been battling for the last, I've been questioning for the last 50 years almost. I will say, although I'm not good at it, what I have learned, I've gotten a lot better at because of this over the last month, is I can now meditate, and I can meditate and transition over into my dream state without falling asleep. That's pure vivid dreaming. I'm fully conscious, walking around, touching things. And that is probably due to the exercise that I've learned with the Monroe Institute's a local chapter. They're not affiliated with the Monroe Institute, but a lot of them have either gone to the Gateway program, or they have connections to the Gateway program and the Monroe Institute, and they decide to make their own chapters.
That's interesting. Do you have the book there to show the audience, Journeys Out of the Body? I haven't had it since I lived with my parents.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I have it right here.
Let's see.
I think it's upside.
Oh, you want to hold it a bit higher?
Sure.
Oh, wow. How about the back of the book?
No.
Or just like, I have to use this pin video feature, so it's on you. I forgot how to do that.
Can you turn it the other way? Okay, thanks.
I'm going to see if I can, I think there's a way to switch the video so it's right. I'm sure there's a way to do this. I've seen people do it.
What year was this one published?
Oh, this is 1971.
Okay.
I'm
Thanks.
gonna see if I can find a way to switch my video from
Well,
left
no,
to right.
I've got it pinned on you now. I'm using the pinned video feature. So
'Cause I used to use-
now it's on you. You can
Yeah.
show both sides of the book.
I don't know if you can read that
Oh,
because
yeah. You can read
yeah.
it.
Okay, great.
How about the back of the book?
Sure.
So the audience can stop the video and read it. Maybe hold it. It's a bit fuzzy. Maybe more towards you. Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
that's good. They can stop
Yeah,
it.
it's visible now. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Very good. That's cool.
Just to quickly share what we did was we would meet 3 times a week and we would go over 3 chapters and we would all share, you know, our thoughts on the chapters and discuss it. A number of the individuals in the group, I have to say, are extremely experienced, either at the literature level, at the textbook level, or direct practical experience. These are people that have been practicing it for years and have had a moderate amount of success. I was the newbie in the group.
Wow. You know, my experience with this book, when I was 16, I was laying in bed. I was kind of half asleep, and I left my body, and I saw my body on the bed, and I tried to flick on the light with my finger like this, and I was getting frustrated because I couldn't turn it on. My astral finger was going through. I was getting really frustrated because, of course, I couldn't turn on the light switch. And then I ended up back in my body, and then I came to, and I realized, oh, I was out of my body, but I wasn't lucid at the time. At the time when it happened, I wasn't actually lucid. So it's kind of halfway there, but it did happen. That was really my only time in my entire life I ever where it was out of my body.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have gotten a bit lucky with the amount of times I did it in the last month, and it's my understanding that it comes and goes, and you'll never experience it again. But what I am enjoying is being able to meditate and go directly into my dreams without falling asleep. That has been really good.
Yeah. I can share a bit about my early childhood experiences. The reason why I got interested in this is since about age 5, I had a recurring experience. So I would become paralyzed in bed, feel this vibrational state. And my head was towards magnetic north, which I found out later facilitates the out-of-body experience, to lay with your head to magnetic north. My parents had my 2 brothers east-west. My head was magnetic north. So I'd have this experience and I would start to rise up and I would get scared from my stomach. I start to rise out of my body and I cling to the side of the bed. It's almost catatonic state. I was afraid of what was going on. This was a recurring experience, went on for years as a kid. But at the height of this experience, I saw a German swastika rolling over me. It's a mental impression on my mind. My eyes would be open and I would see this Nazi swastika. And years later, my Buddhist monk teacher said, well, obviously you're probably in Nazi Germany your last lifetime. That's my belief now from past life regression hypnosis. And it came up from a 30-degree angle behind me. And then it was the experience would subside after this. After roll, it would subside, I'd be really relieved. I go to bed at night kind of in fear that this thing was going to come over me. I kind of appreciated it a way, but I was kind of scared of, didn't understand. I never discussed it with my parents. It wasn't until my dad bought Robert Monroe's book, Journey Out of the Body. I thought, oh, that's what happened to me as a little kid. That's what that thing was. And it really was a textbook case. Robert Monroe describes a vibrational experience, like, and it's starting to lift out. It just happened to me naturally, but I didn't know what it was. And he describes also the fear barrier. I never got over the fear barrier. Even into my teens and in my 20s and even in my 30s, occasionally I'd have the vibrational state. Remember when I was about 21 years old living in Vancouver, I saw my astral hands like this. And once I even sat up with my astral body, that's as far as I got. And I guess I never got over the fear barrier, or just never got any further. So what you're saying, Dave, is that might be like a one-time opportunity and it fades away, right? Something like that.
There's no guarantees with it. I'm sure a number of other individuals might disagree with what I just said, but I have no guarantees it's going to happen again. The only thing that I know that's continued to progress and improve is more and more as I continue practicing. It's taking me less and less longer to meditate and go directly into my dreaming. So that I've noticed. I have that condition. I may have briefly spoken in the past about. I suffer from cataplexy. So it's a disorder. Well, not necessarily a disorder, but it's cataplexy. So as opposed to the neurotypicals where they go through the realm of 90 minutes before they start dreaming, I drop into the brain rhythmic activity within 10 minutes, and my neural oscillation is vibrating at between 0.5, I think it's 0.5 hertz to 4 hertz in less than 10 minutes if I start meditating. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen more. It's happening more and more.
Does that mean you dream more? Like most people, you have to wait 90 minutes for the rapid eye movement. Does that mean it happens to you sooner?
Yeah, I bypass the REM state as opposed to 90 minutes. In 10, 15 minutes, I'll be dreaming immediately. There is pros and cons to that. If you start doing the research, you'll discover that individuals such as myself in the past, we also deal with hallucinations, audio and visual hallucinations, because of how fast you're transitioning. Our mind is not given the correct amount of time to transition over from the conscious state to the subconscious state. So we will experience audio and visual hallucinations, and a percentage of individuals such as myself could potentially develop schizophrenic mental disorder. If not, if you don't do your research and you don't figure out that this is a condition that you know, it's just part of who you are. And yeah.
One thing that influenced me is I've been a Buddhist for 30 years. The Buddha, he did commend his senior monks who had psychic gifts, psychic powers, like going out of the body. He thought, well, this is good, you know, that's fine. But from a Buddhist view, my understanding, as you're progressing along the spiritual path, you know, you might pick up things like astral travel, but you don't have to try to just cultivate those particularly. You just carry on with the Buddhist path. If these things happen, that's fine. So because I'm a Buddhist, I'm not trying to have an out-of-body experience like I was when I was younger. But if I develop the spiritual ability, then fine, I'll allow it to happen. That's my view now.
If I can say something about that.
Yeah, Marie France in France. What time is it in France now? Oh gosh, it's midnight. Thanks for, that's not the bright sun behind you. That's your Zoom screen.
Yes, not true at all.
Thanks for hanging in there, Marie France. Good. Oh, your name is here on the video. Should I change your name?
Yes, I've better take Mary alone now, forever.
Okay.